welcome Dagmar to the Flagstaff Gallery. Can you please tell us a little bit about your background with regard to art and how you got involved in being a professional artist?
Yeah, sure, it's great to be here. Going back to school years, the art department for me was a really natural environment, and it was a place where I felt at home and loved being working with the teachers in that place, and I still have a close connection to my art teacher 20 odd years ago, so that's been really important. It was just a natural extension for me to apply to art school from high school, so I did that, and it was great that I got accepted into Elam, so I did 4 years at Elam School of Fine Arts as part of Auckland University, and it was in my last year, my 4th year, that I kind of really hit my straps, and I kind of really worked out the language that I was trying to portray, so I applied and I did 1 more year, so I basically left for Elam with a postgraduate diploma in fine arts, and I actually majored in printmaking. I chose printmaking as my major because I wanted to learn probably some real technical processes, and I've always been, because of that, I've really enjoyed the technical side of printmaking, and that's sort of been an approach that I've had with a lot of my work, a lot of layers, and working quite methodically as well. And just probably a little bit about myself. Born and raised in New Zealand, but my father is an immigrant from Germany. He arrived in New Zealand when he was 21, and my mother is an immigrant from Tonga, and she has Tongan and German ancestry. They both met, and I've got we're a family of 5, so 3 children. And yeah, married to my husband Lyle, and we have 3 children. Yeah.
Currently you are working on some painting.
Mm-hmm.
What was your decision to move on to painting? What was behind that?
So once I left art school, one of the things that you find very quickly is it's really hard to continue because of the facilities. And so painting is probably something you can set up pretty quickly at home and have your own studio at home and paint. I also majored in, that's what I did before I got to art school, was painting at school. So it was something natural for me to pick up. It's also very quick and it's an immediate process, so painting just seemed natural for me. Probably the scale too of paintings, I like to work a bit bigger too, so that allows me to do that with my painting.
Okay. What is the primary motivation behind your work?
Primary motivation, just love. That's just what I've always loved to do. It's very natural for me. I like working on my own. I'm happy in my own company, and that can sometimes be, after a long day in the studio, it's good to go out and socialise again and be with people. But in the other sense too is that I like my time to do my work. Perhaps that's the German side, and that's how I like to process my work. But my motivation, it's probably stemmed a lot from my heritage and my culture, and particularly my work up to today has been very much about painting and producing images that relate to particularly my mother's side, the Tongan side. And I think that's probably part of New Zealand being in the Pacific, and a lot of these images are not foreign to us, and particularly to New Zealand and Auckland, images that we relate to. But it's about celebrating my culture too, and the dual heritage that I've been raised in. Yeah.
So what themes or issues do you wish the viewer to take away with them when they view your work?
I'm aware that some of the things that I paint will be perhaps some things that people have not seen before. I'm working a little bit more in an abstract way this time, but the foundations are based on Tongan culture in the sense of koloa. So koloa is all about, in Tongan culture, the gifts and wealth that they have, not monetary, but more textile arts. So it's the tapa cloth, the waist garments, and those are all products that the women make in their culture, so I celebrate that. I look very carefully at the patterns that they make. I love playing with the scale and changing it and looking at things like that. The underlying foundation of a lot of Tongan culture is respect and honour, and so those things, when you wear a kia, which is the waist garment, it's actually a sign of honour and a sign of respect. So those are the things that, while I draw on those things, I like it that it is also inherently, it speaks of those values as well, so that's important in my work. Yeah.
Which artists have influenced you the most?
Very much, I love Matisse, and I love his paper cutouts. I love his use of colour and his shape, and those are things that I look for in my work when I'm making and creating it, is I'm looking for balance shape, the line, the texture, and of course now also repeated pattern. There's something about pattern to me it's probably not so, yes, sort of soothing, or probably with the change, life is busy, but something with things repeat itself, it's kind of like, oh, that's good, that's just going to keep turning over, and I like that. But so I've enjoyed Matisse, probably Mondrian. People have looked at my work and associated prints with some of the other prints with the composition and the grids, but that links also back to Tongan tapa. The ngatu is always in grids and composed like that. And recently, Julie Mirotu, a New York-based artist, very abstract. I love her work. I love her scale. I love how she makes marks, so being a mark maker like that. And just recently, coming back from a trip to Sydney, a David Aston show was on at the National Gallery, and I was really inspired by his use of colour, pattern, and he too was inspired by Matisse, so I really related to his work too. So there's a couple of artists there, probably more on the abstract side of things, but yeah, something that I relate to.
Yes, you've identified quite a few abstract artists
Yeah.
there. How do you feel, what do you feel the relationship is there with the traditional Tongan art?
Well, traditional Tongan, I think there's a relation perhaps in the way that they lay things out. They also stylise a lot of their imagery. It's not realistic. They've always looked at the outline of things. If you looked at, like, probably even with the print behind me, there's the eagle or the crown, but it's sort of in a stylised shape, so I've always related to that kind of thing. And yeah, so that's probably where I sort of cross over and like the links between Tongan, probably more the traditional art, but bringing it more into the contemporary and changing it. Yeah.
So you've identified a strong influence from your Tongan and German ancestry. Do you feel that New Zealand has influenced you in any way in your art making, or are there any challenges that you face in being a New Zealand artist?
Yeah, we've always gone back to Tonga. My parents lived there for 20 years, so coming backwards and forwards, we did that a lot, but also been to Germany a few times. And what I realised once I've been to both countries is that New Zealand's the meeting point between these two really opposite cultures. I mean, the Tongan easygoing, fun-loving nature, and the German very, this is how you do it, very, this is the way. And so New Zealand, I just feel it's still a Western culture, but it's in the Pacific, so it fits really nicely. I feel this is home. This feels comfortable here, and it's a great place to raise a family. My husband, Lyle, he's part Māori, so really embraced my children growing up with even more of a richer culture because of that. I guess part of the challenges I find with New Zealand perhaps is while it's one thing to stand alone and you get something out of that, the other thing is it can become quite isolating. And I think we also think probably too small. And something that excites me about coming to New York is the largest of America and how they think, and everything's big, and there's something about that too which excites me, and I get quite excited about that. But perhaps a challenge for me, and I guess perhaps mothers will relate to this, is that being a mother, full stop, is a challenge in the sense of balancing career and motherhood and being a wife and all those other caps and hats that you're supposed to wear. So that's always a challenge, particularly because I deliberately took some time out to raise my children and laid down the paintbrushes and just said, okay, for the next 5-6 years, I'll just concentrate and bring them up. Because I know that in the long-term thing, that raising children is a small amount of time in the big scheme of things. And artists, we don't have an expiry date, so we can keep going and going. And so I kind of put that all into perspective. But that's also a challenge. But I just think raising children is a privilege. So yeah, it's not a bad thing, but it's just something you have to be aware of. Yeah.
Do these feminine issues influence your work at all?
I don't. Well, perhaps. I mean, I draw on the textile woman, the crafts that the women make. I guess it's something that I feel, without even probably thinking, I reference to them. I think I have a wonderful mother as a role model too. So I guess I'm just naturally comfortable in those situations and those environments, and probably more from the angle of celebrating what it is to be a woman and to do well as in our society.
What do you hope to bring to the New York exhibition?
I just hope that people are generally, with the whole show, blown away with what we do here in New Zealand, and I hope that we can bring a little bit of what we are and who we are, part of the Pacific, but also we are a global community too, and so I love how the internet has brought us all very, very, it's all an immediate society now. We can all relate to one another, but don't lose what we have, and so remain proud of what we do and where we come from.
And what are your thoughts on the Flagstaff Gallery bringing contemporary New Zealand art to New York?
Oh, I just think, well done, Flagstaff. I know I've just, from the moment that I found out that New York show was on the cards, I was like really excited to be a part of it, honoured to be involved, and I just think it's great that you're thinking outside of New Zealand, that there's a whole market, whole world out there that needs to see our artwork, and that you're actually doing something about it. So I think it's wonderful.
Thank you, Dagmar.
You're welcome.
Best of luck in